I'm going to be showing the upgrade of an old Nutone home intercom system. The master unit is an IMA-4006. I was actually surprised to find how little info there was on the web about how to upgrade this. You know, you can start to dig in and find enough information to figure it out, but there was no one place that was easy to find some information. So I thought, you know, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to show the installation because I think Nutone sold a lot of these. I think this might have been one of their most popular master units. So there's probably a lot of houses out there that still have these units. Maybe they don't work, or in our case, our system still works, but it looks so dated. It's something that we probably just don't even see anymore because it's just part of our home. We bought the home with this system in it years ago, and it's in the kitchen, and it's in a very noticeable area. So I want to upgrade this to the latest, just so that aesthetically it looks good, and just probably going to pick up some extra features too with the new one. One thing we want to do is be able to have an auxiliary input to play things like iPods or whatever. So again, my system's an IMA-4006. I'm going to be upgrading it to another Nutone, the latest system, which is the NM200WH. So there's other manufacturers that make replacements. These IMA-4006 units have 6 conductor wiring. So if you're looking for a replacement, you need to make sure that the replacement is compatible with a 6 conductor system. So the Nutone NM200WH is compatible, and I have the hardware coming through the mail. I don't have it yet, so I do know that the new unit is probably about this high. Okay, so once I remove this, the rough-in box is going to be too big for the new unit. So the new unit will have its own new rough-in box. So I'm going to remove the IMA-4006, remove the rough-in box, put the new rough-in box in, and there's probably going to be about that much space below that's not covered. So that's an issue you can deal with in a couple different ways. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I did order a frame. It's a retrofit frame that will take up all of the space. So it'll extend beyond that hole, and that way I don't have to do any sheetrock work. But I may convince myself that if it doesn't look good, I may just deal with the sheetrock and, you know, patch a piece here, and I'll have to paint the wall. It'll be more work, but I'm going to see. I'll see how that retrofit frame looks. Okay, so here we are at one of the remote stations in the house. My system has 3 remote stations and 4 ceiling speakers. So I don't have any outdoor or chime buttons. It's a relatively smaller system, I would say, because these things can go up to, you know, over 10 remote stations. So here's the thing, when I'm doing this upgrade and I'm going to install this new master, the NM200WH, I need to upgrade all of the remote stations. So I needed to buy 3 new remote stations. This was almost a deal breaker to me because I can get the master, you know, somewhat reasonably. You know, the cost isn't out of hand, but then, you know, you have to go and replace each remote station, which, I mean, on one hand, these are old and they look old, so I'm kind of happy to replace them. But, you know, for people that have multiple remote stations, if you have 10 stations, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money to do an upgrade. So the benefit is that I can use the existing wiring, but I can't use the remote stations. The speakers, ceiling speakers, should work fine. I don't expect to have a problem with that. So for those of you upgrading, consider that the remote stations will have to be upgraded. The indoor ones are NM200WH. So in my case, I ordered 3 of them. The other thing that I know is that the new speakers or the remote stations are smaller. They're probably going to be about that big. So again, I'm going to have that issue with covering the hole, the rough-in box. The good thing with the remote stations is you can reuse the rough-in box, so I don't need to remove it and put in a new one. I can use the same rough-in box. But again, I'm going to have space here. So Nutone has a retrofit frame for that. The retrofit frame for the remote station is NF300RWH. Alright, and I'll try to put these part numbers in the information with my video, so you guys will have easy access to it. But like the Master, you know, I want to see what it looks like, because I'm afraid the speaker is going to be like this big, and then you're going to have this material extend down to cover the hole, and I'm not sure how ugly that's going to be. But the thought of having to deal with 3, you know, to do a wall patch on 3 holes, not looking forward to that. So it's got to look really ugly if I'm not going to use the frame. So we'll see. The stuff's coming, and when it gets here we'll open things up and we'll look at it. Okay, I just unfastened the IMA-4006. So I just want to show you what you can expect. Alright, so there's 2 screws that hold the unit into the rough-in box. 1 screw here and 1 screw here. Okay, you just loosen those screws, and what's going to happen is you'll be able to pull the unit backwards away from the wall. So the bottom part, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but you can see right there that it's almost like a hinge. There's 2 of them. So you pull the bottom. If you see, I've pulled it away maybe 1.5 inches, maybe, away from the wall, and then the top will just swivel down. And hopefully you guys have one of these that's been fastened, so the weight of the unit just kind of hangs on this. Okay. I've already started removing wires so that I can just remove the entire unit. I can see that the wires are not labeled, which is a bummer, but I'll figure it out, you know, once I get the box out of the way. And I'm going to attempt to remove the unit while holding the camera, which could be difficult. But first off, I'm going to remove this strap. I've already seen what I need to do. It's just as simple as pulling it off of the hook. Now all of the weight of the unit will be on those 2 hinges, which I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. Yeah, there's one. There's the other. It's like an L. So now you pull the unit out. You just keep pulling it out. And if you see, the screws are at the end of the L. So now you take the unit and you slide it to the left. So you can see one of them's been removed. The other one, that screw is still on there. I need to slide the unit to the left. Okay, I just removed it. So there are your brackets. Alright, so now I'm looking at the rough-in box, which has a circuit board here. I've removed a bunch of these connectors so that I could remove the unit. Here's wiring to the remotes and speakers. That's a transformer. There's another transformer down there. That's antenna. Looks pretty straightforward. What's this? Yeah, so some of the wiring goes simply to these screw terminals, which I would imagine is each remote. But then some of the wires they go to the circuit board, maybe with two conductors, and then the other two get wrapped together with other wires. So I'm not quite sure what that is yet. But what I'll do now is I'll turn the camera off and just start removing these one by one, trying to figure out what they are, and I'll label them as I go. So we'll be back. So what I'm doing now is I'm removing each cable and just numbering them with a Sharpie, and then on a sheet of paper explaining where the connections were made. And with the new master, those connections will all be different, but at least if I get totally lost, I can refer to the IMA-4006 instructions and kind of understand what the cable connection was. So the circuit board here has 4 screw terminals for each connection, and they're marked 1 through, I don't know, like 10, say. So most of these cables made 4 connections on the board. So to the number 1, there were 4 connections to one of these cables. So that's kind of how they followed. I think those are the remotes. Now 2 of these cables had only 2 connections to each number. And for instance, this one has 4 conductors. The orange isn't used. And 2 were made to 1 connection, like number 4, and 2 were made to number 5. So I knew these were different. So I suspected that these may be the speaker outputs. Before I can remove the rough-in box, the transformer that powers the master sits in this box, which is recessed down. So I needed to remove it. So it's just a matter of sliding it up, removing one fastener, sliding it up. And here's your 110 connection right here. So obviously with the power off, you're going to be doing this. So what I'm going to do now is remove the 120 that goes to the transformer and cap it off. Then I'll turn the power back on. Alright, so my runs come in from the top, so when I remove my rough-in box, I don't have to worry about losing any wires. If you have wires coming in from the bottom, the power comes in, but this is Romex, this is really stiff stuff, so I'm not worried about it falling down. But your Cat 5 or whatever cables you have, they come in from the bottom, maybe just tape them off or something, you know, and fasten it, tie it off to something to prevent the possibility of losing the wires behind the wall. Then you're going to have to fish it out. So here I'm just working to cut out the hole, trying to make it a little bit bigger. Alright, so after a little work, we've got this thing just about out here. There we go. I want to show you a simple way to test for speakers. I suspected that 2 of these cables were my speakers. They only use 4 of the wires. 2 of them weren't connected to anything. So again, I have 4 speakers in the kitchen. So what you can do is a simple 9-volt battery. Make your connection, make a connection here, put a little voltage on the speaker. And you can see it'll make the speaker pop a little bit. So that's my back right speaker. And if I come to the other 2 conductors on this cable, that's my back left. So real quick, easy way I confirm that this was from my back speakers, this cable were from my front speakers. So I've received the NM200WH today. I'm still waiting for the roughen box and all the remotes, but I did get the master unit. I figured I'd just show you guys a couple things here. I'm going to flip the unit over. Okay, so here's the back of the unit. This unit uses these connectors for the remote room controls and the speakers. So whereas the other one used screw terminals, this one, I think what you get when you buy the remote room controls and the door controls and all of that, I think you get the connectors packaged with it. And then you're going to take your, in my case, 6-wire connection and terminate the wire ends with these connectors supplied with those remotes. So one thing I noticed is these are 8-pin connectors and mine's a 6-wire. So I thought, okay, I'll go the instructions, it'll tell me how to do a 6-wire. It's not there. It shows 8 conductors going to the connector, which is just a surprising omission for them, because they market this as compatible with all these different systems, including a 6-wire, but they don't even tell you which 6 wires you should connect to the connector. So I'm looking into that now. I'm sure I'll get the answer, but what it'll be is I'll make 6 connections and 2 of these pins won't make a connection. I'm sure. I just need to find out which 2. The other thing is right here you see this has CD input and aux input, and what I intend to do is I'm going to use a 3.5 millimeter female connector so that we can use iPods and any other device that has a 3.5 millimeter headphone output, and we can bring that into the aux input onto this unit, and so we'll be able to play AM, FM, and also an iPod. So I'm kind of thinking about how I'm going to do that. I almost considered putting a Bluetooth device on there, which would be kind of slick. You know, it would be easy enough, but I'm thinking it might be limiting because more devices have headphone outputs than Bluetooth. I mean, our phones would work, but for instance, like my daughter has a lot of music on an iPod, so that iPod doesn't have Bluetooth, but she could use the headphone jack. So I think the headphone jack would probably be more compatible with more devices, so I think that's the route I'm going to go. I want to bring up one other thing. I purchased this master unit on eBay. It was new stock, unopened, and it was at a discount. So it's a little bit of a risk because if it doesn't, you know, if it's defective or whatever, I'm not sure how I would deal with that. You know, I could go back to the seller. If they're not helpful, I could try Nutone, but it would have been a little bit safer to just buy it from an authorized retailer. All of the accessories, the remotes, the rough-in, the faceplates, all that stuff, I did buy from a retailer. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I think I should, because I think they're going to come into play with tech support on this unit, because the Nutone manual is surprisingly bad. I have a pretty straightforward installation, and it still doesn't answer some of my questions. I think if you have a complex system, you're going to need a lot more info. And I guess you could go to Nutone, but you know, the fact that they didn't provide it in the manual is kind of just turns me off a little bit. I bought the room remotes and the other accessories like the rough-in box and the backing plates from centralvacuumstores.com, and I didn't intend to give them a plug, but in this case, Nutone's information came up so short. If you're in the same boat as me and you have to buy some of these parts to convert your old system to new, you're going to need a source. Those guys seem to have everything. The prices are good, really good, I thought. And but the other thing is, it seems like they have a lot of expertise, so they were able to answer my questions pretty quickly. So again, I don't really want to plug them. You can buy the stuff wherever you want. I just happen to come across them, and so far they've been pretty helpful. So some of the information I just got from them is, again, how to hook my 6 wires to an 8-pin connector. So they're emailing me a graphic that I'm just going to follow their the picture, and should be pretty straightforward. So that's that. The other thing that I asked about was, I have the 4 speakers. Each speaker has 2 conductors. My question was, how do I hook a 2-conductor speaker to an 8-pin plug? Again, this stuff should be in the manual. It's surprising it's not. So this graphic that I get, I'll be able to follow that, and I'll know which 2 pins the speakers go to. Alright, so I have 4 of these ceiling speakers, like I mentioned. These ceiling speakers were for the IMA-4006, which specified 25 ohm. So these are 4 25 ohm speakers. The new system is speccing 45 ohm. So the NM200WH wants a 45 ohm speaker. Now I could probably use it, but if I just hook them directly, you know, that's a lower impedance. It's going to drive the amp a little hotter, and so you know, I'm running the amp beyond what it's really designed to do. It would probably hold up, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I want this to last for years. So what I can do, I have 2 in the front and 2 in the back of the kitchen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 speakers and I'm going to run them in series. So 25, I'll connect the positive from one to the negative in the other, and then I'll hook the negative and positive to one of those connectors to the NM200WH. So what that'll essentially do is it'll add the impedance, 25 plus 25, so then I'm at 50 ohms, which is higher than 45, which means the amp is going to run even cooler. You don't get quite as much volume output, but it's going to be fine. We never approach full volume anyway in the kitchen speakers. So, you know, that was my plan. I asked tech support at centralvacuumstores.com what he thought, and he agreed that was the perfect solution. I guess that's what they've done in the past. So, so again, you know, they helped me with that. While I'm waiting for my shipment to arrive with the room remotes and the rough-in box and the face plates, I'm going to go around and just remove all the existing room remotes and get the wires prepared. Well, this is on there pretty good, probably from layers of paint. Let me get a razor blade, I'll be back. Now, the new room remotes will go in the same rough-in box as the old ones, so I don't have to remove the rough-in box like I did with the Master. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be happy with what it looks like, but we'll see. Get in there. I received my equipment today, so I just want to show you the room remotes. So this is the old rough-in, this is the new room remote, and this is the faceplate. This is what I haven't seen with this mounted in it. The other thing is, what I've seen, I haven't seen anything with this logo. So they might have made a change. Maybe this has been revised from all the pictures that I've seen on the web. So again, hopefully this helps people if they're considering doing this, what it's going to look like. So that's it. It's going to cover the existing hole. And you know, yeah, I probably would like it if it was small, if I didn't need this plate, but it's just not important enough for me to deal with the wall on the room remotes. So let me do that installation. Oh, one other thing is that now they said you use the existing rough-in box, but what they give you is this plate, which goes like this. It fastens to the old rough-in box, and then the room remote actually uses these two holes to fasten. And there's the finished product. Just wanted to point out something quickly. When I showed you the finished room remote with the faceplate, it had two stainless screws there. I found these painted screws in the packaging, so I think that's what they intended. It looks better. So anyway, wanted to make sure that you saw the proper finished piece. Alright, I'm back at the master. So I wanted to show you this table. This is what centralvacuumstores.com sent to me. You can take a look there. Now this is a cross-reference of old wiring, existing old wiring, actually a lot of different types, not just Nutone, with the new Cat 5. So the new system expects to see Cat 5. We're reusing the old wiring, which is this. It's called Nutone IW-6. So I need to cross-reference these colors to the new colors when I make my connections to the new room remotes and the master. Alright, so orange is pretty simple. Orange crosses to orange. Orange and white goes to orange and white. Now, my black would now go to blue on both the room remote and on the master. My black and white goes to green and white. Red and white goes to blue, white, and brown. And red goes to brown, white, and green. Now the reason why there's two here, this is one wire that goes to a combination of two wires, a two-wire connection. And the reason why is the Cat 5 conductors are smaller, so the capacity, these are actually the audio wires, so they doubled up on these to double up the conductor size so that they can pass the audio signal through there. The Nutone IW-6, the old wiring, it has thicker conductors, so one connection is good enough. So our red-white wire would go to this connection, which typically would have two conductors with new wiring. It sounds confusing, it's really not, but anyway, that's that. The other thing I want to show you is this is the connector that's used at the master. So I'm going to go from that table and I'm going to use these colors. So you got green, solid green, green white, solid brown, brown white, blue, blue white, and orange, orange white. So I'm going to cross-reference and put my conductors in the proper slot. This is like a screw terminal. So you slide the conductor in here, you tighten up, screw, and then this thing plugs into the back of the NM200WH, which you guys have seen. So I'm going to go now and make all my connections. So when I'm done, I'll have a connector on all the necessary cables. I've made my connections here from the room remote cables. There's 3 of them here. These speaker cables, I need 2 more connectors. I think I told you the connectors come with the room remotes. Well, I don't have connectors for the speakers. So again, I had to go back and order a couple more parts. So I'm waiting for that to come. These I determined are not used. They were probably intended to be used when it was installed, but never connected to anything. So process of elimination, we figured out what connections we have here. So just waiting for those connectors, and then we'll put the rough-in box and finish. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm going to be making up the cable now for the aux input for iPod or iPhone. So I've got my jack, my 3.5mm female jack. I've got a ton of these old cables. I have no need for them anymore, so I'm just going to cut this to length, probably right about here. Alright, so I got my, just enough here. Split these. Strip these. So you're going to take the jackets here, the braided conductors on both sides, and these are going to get tied together like this. I'm going to be soldering this too, so that comes together like this. I'm going to strip this. These conductors are very small. Alright, there's one. This is stranded too. Alright, so I got 3 wires. There's 3 connections on the jack here. The tip of the 3.5mm plug is left. The center, the barrel, is right. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but this is where the shield is going to go to. So I'm going to make my solder connections and come back and show you what we did. Alright, here we go. This has all been soldered. My 3 connections goes to my, so you see the grounds here, the left and right, and my RCAs will go into the back of the master unit. Now I've got the new rough-in box I'll be putting into the hole. This is what it looks like. They want you to put this back side of the rough-in box to the end of the 2x4 stud. So that should line up with the back of the stud. So this actually gets recessed a little bit, and this is about flush with the wall. There's knockouts here. There's some knockout rings that you can put in here. I have to do that. And the transformer is going to go here. Same kind of thing. It'll be recessed down. And then my power will come up. I'll put that retention fastener on it and make my connections. And the transformer will sit below the rough-in box. So I'll be doing that. I'll show you the finish. And then my plan is to take the 3.5mm harness that I made. I'll come out at one of the knockouts. It'll come out of this hole here, go down into that backing plate. And I'll show you where it'll mount. I drilled a hole in the backing plate so that the headphone jack will sit down here. So our iPod connections will just come up into it. Here's a quick shot of the faceplate. And I've drilled a hole right here to take my 3.5mm harness. So what'll happen is I'll take this female jack. That goes into the hole. I'll run my RCAs back up to here. So when this gets mounted, the RCAs will go in the back of the unit, and I'll have my jack right here, so we'll make our headphone connection right here when we want to play like iPods or other devices. Here's a quick shot of the roughen box installed. All my connectors now are made. The ones with 2 are the speakers. The ones with 6 are my room remotes. Transformer is here. Power's been connected. It's on the bottom side of the box. This will go to the new master. That's AM antenna. This is an FM antenna. The iPod connection will come through a knockout here, come out this way, down along the wall, and to the bottom of the plate, backing plate. So I'm just about ready to make the connections now. The NM200WH has a pretty crude way of hanging it. See, you can see it's hanging there so I can make my connections. So it just has this wire that's connected at one side, goes up. You actually hook it on this hook that's on the roughen box. So no hinges, it just basically, you can see it, it just kind of hangs there. That's not very sophisticated, but I guess it'll have to work. Alright, here's the finished product. Everything's working fine. The aux input works. I just tried it on my phone. Sound quality is definitely better than the IMA-4006. I was happy to hear that. I mean, it's definitely not stereo quality, but you know, it's a mono output. I think I said that. And you know, it's not a powerful amplifier into quality speakers, but it's definitely better quality sound. The radio station seems to be more sensitive and locks into stations better. So I was happy about that. The volume at the remote room controls is louder. That's a huge thing for us because we have one in the hallway, and when we try to call upstairs and the kids are in their room, sometimes they don't hear it. So now we can set it pretty loud, and that's going to be really helpful. Plus it looks a lot better. I mean, look at that compared to what we started with. So I'm happy with the install. Hopefully this has been of some help to you guys. There should be links in the video description that can help. And good luck if you do the install.